Hello there. It's a brand new episode of Political Echoes where we discuss trending socio-political issues and how it affects the average Nigerian. You sure do not want to miss the amazing discourse we have on the show for you today. I am David Olaiwola. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back from that short break. This is Political Echoes in case you are just joining us. Political Echoes is a fortnight political talk show set to discuss topics and issues making rounds in the political space of Nigeria and bringing to the spotlight sensitive areas that call for address in the political milieu and how people can be sensitized, make meanings, and probably draw their conclusions from the burning issues at hand. One of these issues which we'll be discussing today is worsening insecurity, 2023 elections in view. Today in the studio, I am being joined by a public affairs analyst who doubles as an on-air personality, Honorable Aziz Fatai Adeshokon. You're welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me.
All right, without further ado, it cannot be overemphasized that insecurity is worsening in Nigeria by the day. It has now gotten to the point where it doesn't only affect common Nigerians, but even the influential ones. A few days ago, we had the Kuje Correctional Facility attack, where bandits broke into the correctional facility and over 1,200 inmates were freed into the city of Abuja. And we should have in mind that this Kuje Correctional Facility is one with maximum security, where many people charged with terrorism are being imprisoned. And how these bandits were able to carry out this successful attack is something that calls for a serious concern. On the same day, the supposedly most secure advance team, that's the presidential advance team, was attacked, and some people were killed. And it was during the festive season. You know, several other attacks like that, to mention a few. So, what is your take on the worsening insecurity in Nigeria?
Sad one. And we saw it coming, and we believe we ought to have actually addressed this. And the one that happened in Katsina State, Dusima, the advanced presidential convoy of Mr. President, is nothing but a national embarrassment. And the one of Kuje prison, it speaks volume of lack of leadership, that things are not working in our country when you don't have intelligence gathering. Essence of democracy is to have good governance. And essence of government is to provide solution, solve problems, or solving problems. And it's not an excuse arena. And those who cannot bear the heat of the kitchen should get out of the kitchen. So we speak volume about the kind of leadership we've been having. It transcends this present government of President Muhammadu Buhari. Successive government has actually failed us. When you have a president that was actually away and the vice president was not empowered, the cabal were there. In 2009, when this Boko Haram insurgency actually came up in Borno, a certain Yusuf was arrested by the police. There was claims and counter-claims that he was handed over to the police by the army. The guy got killed. Ali Modu Sheriff and the likes, they were the one in charge. So in those areas, you'll be able to sum it up that where did we get it wrong? You have to look inward. Because when you have a country of diversity like ours, and people are taking things for granted. So the same Boko Haram insurgents that was limited to Borno metropolis now transferred to Yobe. We saw the attack in Buniyadi. Schoolgirls that were kidnapped in Yobe State. From Yobe to Bauchi, as I speak to you, 2 local governments in Bauchi State, Toro local government and Keri local government, are under terrorism. So what are we now talking about? From Bauchi to Jos, it's just 2 hours drive, if not 90 minutes. From there, it transferred to Jos again. Jos is having our own local problem of the Jukuns, the Berum, and the Fulanis. So in all of this, I believe it is failure of leadership until we have right leadership in place that I think and actually standing up for the yearnings and aspiration of a country called Nigeria. Until then, all we keep on having is just experiments. I'm not saying this present government or President Muhammadu Buhari of doing something tangible for us in terms of security of lives and properties. The presidential statement is not even suiting. let alone planning. So when the president himself proclaimed that intelligence of his country is poor, it speaks volume. And there are budgets year in, year out. We have the DMI, Director of Military Intelligence. We have NIA, National Intelligence Agency. We have the DSSS. So what was the essence of all those budgets, all those years under Abacha? See, if we are talking about government, it transcends Buhari as a whole. Our problem is holistic, and we need to look.
So are we saying that the Buhari administration is not totally responsible for the state of insecurity in the country at the moment? Is it from the past?
It is because governance is continual, and nobody actually forced him to have applied to become Nigerian president. He campaigned and he did all sorts of things before he was voted for, and for him to now become our president, it behoves on him to solve some of our problems with these amenities around him. The budget is there, the presidential authority is there, the seal of government is riding our private jets. So what has he done with it? So definitely it's actually the president that will answer for those. I'm only telling you the background of our problems. That successive government has not been encouraging. Look at the energy sector. It's going hand in hand with the security. If you go to anywhere in Lagos, Ibadan, Akure, Port Harcourt, there is no fuel. And this is a country that has crude. So we are just a laughing stock among the Committee of Nations. We are not serious. We are not serious at all. We are just sleeping and waking up. We are not serious. And some people will now be bothering themselves about Muslim tickets. Just for you to know how reduced our country national discourse has reduced to Muslim. That shouldn't bother anybody. What should bother us is what can we do about our country?
Let's look at the response of the present day government to these issues of insecurity in the past or in recent times. It seems that I mentioned the last episode of this show that our government is very good at making press releases. Apart from the press releases and condolence messages, either sympathizing with victims or condemning attacks that oozes out of the presidential villa. Isn't there something more that the presidency can do? Shouldn't they go to the drawing board and revisit the root causes of these issues of insecurity?
I just want to be very patriotic so that I will not blow some of our negative trumpet outside. I believe Mr. President has a lot to do. The way Nigeria is structured, the presidential system of government, the power is actually domiciled in the villa. So there is limited in some of these governors could do. And the presidency controls the economy. They controls virtually everything in our daily lives. So everything is in the hands of the presidency. But what I want to say, with all due sense of humility, I believe the presidency lacks some certain intellectual wherewithal and or deliberate complacency on the part of the presidency. I'm not talking about presidents here. I'm talking about the presidency because we have the chief of defense staff, we have the minister of defense, we have the national security advisor, NSA, all of them. They are all residing at the presidency. What are the functions of those offices? And when we're I think under the military, when we had the NSA and what have you, we saw what Gusau could have done by now. The intelligence was so sophisticated that before a coup could have occurred, those were the people that were actually for those coups. So beyond going forward, I believe the presidency is, I don't want to say, they are now a kind of fatigue on the part of the presidency. They don't know what to do again. In the last couple of months, you hardly see my Femi Adesina issuing statements unlike before because the reality had beckoned on him that they've actually failed us. And without campaigning for anybody, among the three popular presidential candidates, the Labour, the PDP, and the APC, I think we should look inward. Who do we think can deliver us? But I won't lie to you. Nigeria will be on this till next year. We are in mess.
Talking about our intelligence team, these attacks, these issues of insecurity do not occur in isolation. If you notice, we can't take them with a pinch of salt because it seems it is coordinated. And looking at our intelligence team, this situation we are painting might not be as complex as it may seem. Because for advanced countries, one thing they use in tackling these issues of insecurity is their intelligence. But for us here in Nigeria, we've had several reports that the government actually receives intelligence reports before most of these attacks are carried out. So is it that we have an intelligence team without intelligence? Or is it that they seem not to do anything with these intelligence reports they get, I mean. So is it that they are not doing what they are supposed to do, or
They are. You see, when you have a country where mediocrity is being promoted ahead of a merit, those are the things you get. And our security intelligence gathering has been ethnicized, and those are the kind of results you got. I think it was under Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, late Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. He was actually away on a sick bed in Saudi Arabia, and there was this thing that was occurring in Plateau states. There was a crisis there. A certain chief of army staff ordered the army to shoot on another tribe because his own tribe are there in minority. So those are the kind of results you get in a country where you place those that should place above country interest. They are now promoting primordial interest, parochial interest. Those are the things you get. If you go to Abuja, Federal Secretariat, for instance, as you are entering Federal Secretariat, a certain language dominates the arena. If you cannot speak that language, you not be, in fact, you not even be assessed. I had an issue with my NIN. I was in Abuja just like 4 5 weeks ago. I had to go to State High Court, FCT State High Court in, I think, in Jabi. So when I got there, in fact, for like 20 minutes, they were busy speaking their language, not even my English. But fortunately, I could speak that same language. So I enjoined them speaking that language. I was attended to. I did my affidavit, then went back to Mabuchi, for very close to Road Safety Secretariat, and did whatever I wanted to do. Then I flew back to Lagos, then my place to Ibadan. So those are the kind of situation we find ourselves in our country. We place ethnic ethnic interest above national interest.
okay, so are we saying that what is affecting the intelligence units of
Yes.
Nigerian defense system is mediocrity and ethnicity?
Of course. Because when you now say, oh, before you can choose a presidential candidate, the vice presidential candidate, it has to be from a certain religion. Oshimbajo is a pastor. In the last 7.5 years, we can record Christians have been killed, and we've not seen him protesting. So, on whose interest is he protesting? We've seen how Muslims were attacked. We've not seen Buhari telling us that he will go on fasting because some Muslims were being attacked. So, political elites are just duping us, using us against ourselves. What should interest us is the deliverables. How will you deliver? In Lagos, you will not see, it's not even as pronounced. I grew up in Lagos. Your next neighbor will be Igbo here. Your next neighbor here will be an Edo woman. The next neighbor there will be somebody from Plateau. Because by the time you wake up, you are surrounded with people from other ethnic before you even remember your own name. So those are the things. The food you eat, you are colonized with the diversity. It has now become an asset for Lagos. Unlike the national color, we need to look at what is our problem. We need a president. That's the truth. We need a president that will be a symbol of unity. We need a president. When Obasanjo was a president, he had his own minors. But our problem is not as pronounced as it is. It tells you that it's either deliberate complacency of Mr. President or lack of capacity of Mr. President, because the power domicile in the villa.
Okay, if these issues of ethnicity and mediocrity and whatnot are fixed in the presidency or among the presidencies as it is,
Our problem is half solved. It happened in Kigali, in Rwanda, the Hutus and the Tutsis, when the Hutus were actually dominating our affairs. And it broke to civil war. Until then, they now return back. Kigali today is a place to behold. Mr. President just returned from Kigali. Commonwealth conference was held in Kigali for 5 days. Go to Kigali in Rwanda. So those are the kind of country we don't need to be thinking of. You see, when you want to have a country or a nation, you must actually be above primordial sentiments. I'm here not because I'm Fatah Adeshokon. I'm here because you are interested in discussing national discourse with me. Those are the things that actually brought us together. So until then, University of Ibadan, University of Lagos. There was an Igbo man who was vice chancellor, even though in Lagos, even though in Abuja area. But today, you see certain tribes, certain indigenes protesting even in federal university that Afekomo Oluwaje VC. We want our own kinsman to be the vice chancellor. That ever since this university has been founded, none of our kinsmen had been vice chancellor. The closest will be deputy VC. You can see the primordial sentiment without considering the interest of the citadel of learning, that when our university has now been reduced to, oh, Adesoko is from Ekiti, it has to be from Ekiti, that the vice chancellor of Ekiti State, you see, those are the people that will cause problem, because it is not on merit, it's on mediocrity, primordial sentiments. The same thing playing out in a larger scale. Go to some certain ministries in Abuja, you find some certain people from ethnic stock dominating there. So what are we now talking about?
We have seen that national unity is a very strong tool for national growth and prosperity. Away from what we have been discussing in the studio, let's get to the streets of Nigeria and check out the reactions of some Nigerians regarding the issues of insecurity in the country vis-a-vis the upcoming 2023 general elections. We'll be right back.
Getting worse by the day, and as it is, the government is telling us they can't defend us. We don't have any security. As you can see, that some states are already declaring that the citizens should get something to defend themselves. As it is, that's a failed system, because the security of a state depends on or relies on the government, not the people. So if we have to defend ourselves, it means that we have failed as a country, so to say. So as regards the coming election, I think what I tell my friends is once you get your PVC, make sure you join a party. The only way we can ensure that the election is free and fair is if we join a party. The Nigerian state has gotten to a point where you have to be ready. Now, not because you want to cause chaos, but you must be ready to defend yourself you must be ready to defend yourself. Am I saying carry arms everywhere? Well, you are not hearing that from me, but use your logic. If you want to go exercise your right, and then you will not be allowed to exercise that right, because of course, the armed forces will not even be available to defend you at that point. I think it's safe to say you should defend yourself, whichever way it is. Find a way to defend yourself.
Wow, my sincere opinion is that actually we are going to obtain it. For me personally, I'm going to obtain the police. I had it already. But the fear of insecurity, I might not go out there. I like to think about what we are alive. We want our life to be, we want to be alive. So we have to see with this present issue of insecurity in the country. I don't think I'm going to. Yes, we want to change. We want a better Nigeria actually. But it's the duty of everybody. And the government has a bigger part to play. Like before the election, if you see that everywhere is calm, there's peace, and we see this in our state, like Oyo State now. So if there is peace in the society, at least we come out to go. So our own part as citizens is that in our different states, in our different areas, we should be security alert. Any uncomputed building, we should look inside. If there's any strangers there, we should accuse them, should make a report to the law enforcement agency, the policemen. We all have this duty to be alert to see that there is secure. So if I play my part, another person plays their part, I think before election, I think we can be bold to say that we are going to go out. But presently now, I don't think I'll go out to do. Over time, the issue of insecurity has lingered in Nigeria, and many Nigerians do not expect a change to happen anytime soon. The state of insecurity in the country has worsened as the 2023 election draw near. And despite the preparedness of many Nigerians towards exercising their franchise, there is a fear of an impending danger that could befall them during the elections as this insecurity issue mounts daily. I remain Elizabeth Dairo, the Pendulum TV.
Welcome back. In case you are just joining us, this is Political Echoes, and I still have my very special guest in the studio with me, Honorable Fatai Adeshokon. It is about 8 months to the general elections, the 2020 general elections, but as it is, it doesn't seem like we are ready for it. Recently, the issues of insecurity is like a network of activities, part of a grand plan towards the general elections next year. And because if care is not taken, it will keep going on like that till the elections come into our face. And to make matters worse, the government does almost nothing in response to these attacks. So it makes it look like they even know of people who are behind these attacks or who are sponsoring these attacks and all that. So can we say that the government is complicit and partly part of the causes of insecurity in the country?
We can't say so. No responsible government across the globe will be involved in attacking his own people or our own people, rather. So I think the best mode to put it is just that deliberate irresponsible on the part of the government. Because if the government is responsible, the government will not be folding arms and our own people are now being killed, being attacked. We used to travel overnight from Lagos to Abuja, from Abuja to Plateau, Bauchi, Kano, Katsina, and even the if presidential cover is now being attacked broad daylight, it calls for concerns that a government of that nature will not be involved in such sponsoring of attack on our own people. But we can only um, have such a weak perception because we now seem to say, oh, if we don't have any hand in it, so why are we now having this prevailing situation? But beyond that, the problem is just that the government has chosen to be irresponsible. They are not responsible. If they are responsible, and primary aims and objective of a government is to protect lives and property, and if that is not being achieved, as a husband, you can't continue to be giving your family excuse. Yes, the country is tough. We just have to find a means. Or then the family will now agree with, oh, Dad, we cannot have 4 cups of rice in this house again. We can only afford 2 cups of rice. They will agree with you and actually consider your plight. But the moment the government is not providing solution, I think in certain areas is being secured, we now consider, oh, Borno, Yobe axis, because of Boko Haram insurgents, we are having problem. There were certain market women that were slaughtered in Borno State, about 40 something of them, about 4 5 years ago. So those are the kind of a country that after 4 years, have we had change of narrative? No. So that now tells us that we have irresponsible leadership. That's the fact.
With the irresponsibility of the government of the day, it seems as though these attackers, these terrorists, are testing the resolve and resistance of the government towards this attack. And when they see that there is no response, they will strategize and attack again. If this continues, don't you think it will get worse? Is it not going to it's not going to get too bad than we can bear?
It's worsening already, my brother. I don't need to lie to you. Yoruba will say, "Nto kan lo mo." May we never witness such occurrence in our lives. And because there's certain people that certain family can't get away from it for now. When their breadwinner is being attacked or killed or what have you. So I believe what the solution is, election is fast approaching and the police will be overstretched. The one in Ekiti, about 2 commissioner of police, 3 commissioner of police, 2 AIG, 2 DIGs, that will not be possible in the general election, except for like 4 5 states. Even though at that, there will be presidential election. So just for you to know that our security agencies will not be able to man all the states at once, particularly Zamfara, the volatile states. Even though those states are not volatile, or your states that we are enjoying relatively peace, on that day or those times, it won't be business as usual. And if you go to certain police stations, sometimes you don't have light at night. So our situation has to be holistically looked into. So ASU is on strike 4 to 5 months, as at 2 days ago, 5 months. Energy crisis, and we have crude in our country. The health is no go area, so the education is no go area. So what are we not even enjoying? If you go to immigration office, even not in Oyo State, go to Osun, Ekiti, you see mass influx of people daily procuring that passport, international passport, to travel abroad, not even mindful of the stress that they go through. It generates online appointment before you get there, and you are even being extorted. So our country situation had become worse already. So how do we get out of here? The election window is there. So for we, if we can manage and elect somebody, because I personally am of a strong opinion, either of Atiku, either of Peter Obi, either of Tinubu, will do us a better presidency than what we are having for now.
Now, back to the issue of insecurity and elections. On the part of the electorate, one thing that guarantees large voter turnout or participation of citizens in the electoral process is assurance of security of life and property. With the current situation, are people, recently there has been a reawakening of Nigerians towards politics. Many people are now more interested in politics. They want to see change come through and all of that. But with the current situation we have in the country, don't you think people would be scared or fearful to come out to participate in politics and then vote during the election?
Yes. People will be, I suspect, voter apathy in some certain states, to be sincere with ourselves. But some people will actually fear for their lives because we can't we trust terrorists now than the government. And when IPOB is now saying stay at home on Mondays and people are obeying IPOB, so what else again? That means practically government in those states has been reduced. On Mondays in Anambra especially, they say IPOB day. They IPOB will say stay at home. In the past, those that actually defied IPOB, their goods were demolished. They were actually attacked, and government did not compensate anybody. So if IPOB say, "Oh, tomorrow no movement in Anambra," nobody will dare come out because they know government has practically been reduced in those areas. Anambra House of Assembly member from Charles Soludo's constituency was actually attacked, killed, beheaded. So it speaks volume of a country we are living. So it has now become a banana republic. It's not an act of exaggeration, even though in our own southwest we saw what is going on in the past. We are seeing what is happening now. But for now, I think some of our people will be determined, and we not always been having 60-70% of total vote cast. But I think there will be an improvement from the past. At least like 45-50% of our population will go out to vote.
Okay, looking at the increased rate of insecurity in the country at the moment,
It seems as though we are in an undeclared war because attacks, and attacks are the things we keep hearing of. Statement. So it's more like a war that is not formally announced. And looking at how it might affect the upcoming general elections, don't you think we should declare a state of emergency? Because currently, in the 2015 election, during under the former president Goodluck Jonathan, election in Borno State was postponed for some moment because terrorists occupied some local governments there and made election impossible in those places. Currently, we already have them occupying places like Zamfara, Borno, and others. So, Niger State. So, don't you think that it will affect the upcoming election, or should the presidency declare a state of emergency? Because in situations like this, the presidency is supposed to take extra care and actions to ensure that this thing is killed. So, what do you think should be done in this situation?
I will not buy the idea of state of emergency. It will not solve our problem. And the governors have been cooperating with the chief of defense staff and chief of army staff. Whatever they actually wanted had been given. Particularly Governor of Borno State, Professor Zulum. And some of us are watching him, and we are getting updates from Borno State. So declaring state of emergency will just like mere academic exercise. Because in Southwest, for instance, our issues are kidnapping, armed robbery. The government has failed to actually tame that. So if a government has not shown any sign of responsibility in that regard, so how much more if a state of emergency is now being declared? So it will just be a mere academic exercise that, oh, we've done this. So what they've been doing the last 7 years, we need to plan. You've not been planning. This government came into being in 2015. When Awolowo introduced free education in 1955, he planned for 3 good years from 1952 to 1955. He became premier in 1952. Not that he just woke up one day at Agodi government as, oh, tomorrow free education. No. He planned for 3 years. He made savings from cocoa proceeds. He made savings. After 3 years, he now initiated the plan. So those are the era where you have proper planning in government, policy of government, concept of government in 4 years, in 5 years, in 10 years. That was what Tinubu began in Lagos. That Lagos is now enjoying a bit. It's not as if all is yet to rule in Lagos, but it's a template somebody can look forward to. When he became governor, he knew that Lagos problem is part of traffic, and that traffic, you are losing money in the economy. He actually established LASMA. From LASMA, Red Line, Transport, Lamata. He couldn't finish. Fashola came in, extended it. By the time we got to Ambode era, that Lamata BRT, it has actually come to stay. It has now become part of Lagosian. So that is planning. We are not saying government should plan tomorrow morning and we get results. But in the last 7 years, if we have been building 1,000 megawatts, in a year, by now we have 6,000. Let's say they began in 2016. By now, we have 6,000 megawatts. In the national grid. The same apply to crude refinery. If you have been trying to have PPP arrangement, having refinery, each of the states, if we can have refineries, it's not there won't be problem.
On this issue of planning towards the upcoming elections, what plans do you think the government would make to guarantee safety of people who want to participate in
I've
the
lost
election?
confidence in this present administration. That's a fact. And even though I have sympathy for this government, I brought them into power. I campaigned, I voted. I've lost confidence in them. So I don't want to envisage in a mirage form that this government will do this. No, the government has failed us. That's a fact. The government has failed us. Jonathan government failed us. But we expected that this government would have actually changed the narrative. But the worst is even the case. So it's not as if some people say, oh, we should go back to Jonathan era. Jonathan government was bad. But we thought this government will correct those narratives. But this government refused to. Because I can't imagine a country paying 1.4 trillion, 1.6 trillion on subsidy. And that same country have crude in reserve. We have gas. So such a country cannot grow.
Saying that towards the upcoming elections, plans cannot be put in place by this government.
Yeah, we are used to all this fire brigade approach. By now, nobody is hearing which way INEC to go. We don't know how much has been given to INEC. We don't know until you now see the election will be postponed. Go and mark it down. You know, so we are extending this thing for another 30 days because of certain logistics from Jamaica, from Switzerland. That is Nigerian drama. That is it. And you journalists will enjoy those times. They will bring your camera, press conference. We are postponing this election. That is Nigerian factor for you. If you are saying you are planning, look at how much is diesel now. So it speaks volume of lack of leadership. President Muhammadu Buhari has actually failed us as a country.
Earlier, you mentioned the cooperation of governors of different states with the presidency on issues of security. Recently, I think the governor of Zamfara told his citizens that they should go to the police and obtain permits to use guns and defend themselves. And at a point, Buhari told a particular governor who approached him that defend your state, it's now in your hands. So what do you think governors can do on their part to secure their states towards the election?
The Zamfara case is a special case. And you see, the statement of the governor is not what he actually meant, without holding brief for him, but it's a statement of a helpless governor. The man is perplexed. You can't wake up as a governor and you hear your people being bombed, bandits. I think about 4 or 5 local governments in that state, oftentimes, have been attacked. So it tells you more that a governor is now being perplexed. For him to have said so, when a father or a husband tell his own children that, oh, you guys go and look for what to eat outside, or you should know the man is perplexed. It's not something he actually wish that his own children will now be begging for harms. So apart from Zamfara, Niger, Benue, and the horrible states, the Oyo states, Lagos state, they need to complement the effort of the federal government because they are being given monthly security votes. Like Oyo state is collecting 1 billion naira in a month. 1 billion aside monthly allocation. So 1 billion naira, that's 12 billion naira per annum. So if these governors are not looting these funds as themselves, it should do a whole lot. The Amotekun they brought initiative of fantastic, but they were funded. Who are those recruited in those Amotekuns? So those are the things you see. Most of our leadership recruitment is poor, is faulty. So those who that did not prepare. I belong to a political party. I aspire to be an ESCO member of that party. I was just changed. It was given to someone else that never even needed the party ESCO. And now the party is now calling me to come and fill the vacuum that they're having problem. That same party which I don't want to mention. So it tells you more, the same thing you see a governor that emerged, that never even prepared for that office. So those are the things.
Okay, so away from the responsibility of the governors and the presidency, what role should electorates themselves play in terms of security towards the
I will not
population?
condemn average Nigerian because the elite, they are the cause of our problems. And some people prefer to collect 20,000 and vote for Labour Party and go back. If that is what we call dividend of democracy, let me collect mine now and go and sleep. Because I know by the time these people get there, it will be stories upon stories. And so the electorate, I will only implore us that we should seek for PVCs and vote accordingly to our consciences. So you cannot condemn Nigerians because he who wore the shoes know where it pinches. So is he a young student at a certain university or polytechnic that is struggling to pay his or her school fees, that someone is now offering him or her 50,000 naira to come and cast vote for, that person will do, because the political elite are so much make things difficult for us. Before you go to school now, you spend a lot of money. The purchasing power is no longer there. With 5,000 naira, you go to the market, you buy fish, a titus of fish that we used to buy 250, 200 is now 851, 900 naira. Pomo that we used to supplement with, which was like 1,500 naira. A pomo is now 500 naira. Go to Bodija market. A pomo is 500 naira. So what's now the difference in buying pomo and fish? And if you go to, as a biology student, but the fish, even a garri has more protein than pomo. And we just want to have that pomo in our soup so that it will look as if we are even having a meal that is okay. So even though at that, so the government has failed us. But even though at that, Nigerians should actually speak up and stand up for themselves. Let us vote right. I can't condemn any Nigerian because we know what our people are going to. But at that, we need to stand right and vote accordingly without canvassing for any candidates.
Thank you very much for your response.
Thanks for having me.
As electorates, we have seen that it is still our duty to participate actively in politics. Ensure that you get your PVCs if you haven't gotten it. And in the meantime, security is everyone's business. Be security conscious and don't leave it to the government or to the presidency alone. Many thanks to my guests for heeding our call today on the show. We hope that you heed our call subsequently. Many thanks to you for joining us on today's episode of Political Echoes. I will be back in 2 weeks' time on another episode of Political Echoes. Till then, I remain David Olaiwola. Bye.